Every new parent knows the particular exhaustion of listening for a sound that hasn't happened yet. Lying awake in the dark, half asleep, one ear permanently tuned to a monitor, waiting for a cry that might come in 5 minutes or 5 hours. It's a kind of vigilance that rewires you completely, whether you want it to or not. You start watching everything. You start needing to see. Tonight's story is about a mother named Maya Reyes, her infant son Eli, and a nanny cam that was supposed to make 3 in the morning feel a little less frightening. It did the opposite. If you've ever watched your child sleep on a screen and felt a flicker of unease you couldn't explain, you already know exactly the feeling this story is going to sit inside. Keep that feeling close. You're going to need it. Maya was 31, 6 weeks into motherhood, running on the specific threadbare exhaustion that new parents describe to each other in tired, knowing half-sentences. Not really sleeping so much as losing consciousness in short, unpredictable intervals, waking at every small sound the baby monitor picked up, real or imagined. Her husband Ben worked early shifts at a hospital lab and needed real sleep to function, which meant most of the overnight parenting fell to Maya by default, an arrangement neither of them loved, but both of them had accepted as temporary, the way exhausted people accept almost anything as temporary, just to get through the week in front of them. Eli had been, by every measure that mattered, an easy baby so far. He ate well, gained weight steadily, slept in stretches that their pediatrician assured them were entirely normal for 6 weeks old, even if those stretches felt agonizingly short from inside them. Maya loved him with an intensity that had genuinely surprised her, a kind of love that came with its own permanent low hum of fear attached, the specific terror of having something now that could be lost, in a way nothing in her life before motherhood had ever quite worked. She hadn't expected the fear to be so constant. Nobody had fully prepared her for that part. They'd bought the Nanny Cam 3 weeks after Eli was born, a small camera that clipped to the edge of the crib and streamed live video to an app on Maya's phone, motion-activated, night vision-enabled, marketed with the specific soft focus promise of peace of mind. Maya had resisted it at first, some instinct telling her that watching her son sleep through a screen all night wasn't actually going to make her feel calmer, just differently anxious. But exhaustion eventually won the argument, the way it wins most arguments at 3 in the morning, and the camera went up on a Tuesday. For the first 2 weeks, it worked exactly as advertised. Maya could glance at her phone during a 2 a.m. feeding and see Eli sleeping peacefully in grainy, green-tinted night vision, chest rising and falling in the small, rapid rhythm of an infant's breathing, and something in her chest would loosen slightly, the specific relief of visual confirmation that everything was, in fact, fine. The first strange night happened during week 3 at 2:47 a.m., when Maya woke to a motion alert on her phone. Not the baby moving, which triggered dozens of harmless alerts a night, but a specific notification the app labeled "Person Detected." Maya's heart seized instantly, the particular full-body alarm every parent understands without needing it explained, and she opened the live feed with hands that were already shaking. The footage showed Eli's crib, grainy green night vision, exactly as it always did, and standing beside it, close enough to be leaning slightly over the crib rail, was a shape Maya's mind refused for several long seconds to process as a person. Tall, still, facing down into the crib rather than toward the camera, in a posture that looked almost like someone checking on a sleeping baby, the way any relative or caregiver might. Maya was out of bed and down the hallway before she'd fully processed what she was doing, adrenaline overriding thought entirely. She burst into the nursery, flipped on the overhead light, and found exactly what she should have found. Eli asleep in his crib, alone, nothing and no one else in the room. The window was locked. The door had been the only way in, and Ben, when she checked, frantic, was still asleep in their bed, exactly where she'd left him. She stood in the nursery for a long time after that, phone in hand, scrolling back through the recorded footage with a growing, nauseated disbelief. The recording showed exactly what the live feed had shown: the tall, still shape beside the crib, present for 11 seconds, and then, in the 12th second, simply gone, with no footage of it entering or leaving the frame. It was there, and then it wasn't, the way a video glitch might delete a few frames, except every other second of footage before and after played perfectly smoothly. Maya replayed those 11 seconds more times than she wanted to admit, pausing on individual frames, zooming in until the image dissolved into grainy green pixels that told her nothing more than the full-speed footage already had. She noted, with a specific clinical detachment she didn't recognize in herself, that the shape's proportions seemed wrong in a way she couldn't quite articulate. Not grotesquely wrong, nothing monstrous or exaggerated, just subtly off in the way a photograph of a familiar room sometimes looks wrong when you can't immediately say why. Some small violation of proportion or perspective that the eye catches before the conscious mind can explain it. She told herself it was a reflection, a trick of the night vision lens, a shadow cast by something in the room she hadn't accounted for. She examined the nursery in full light for 20 minutes, looking for anything that could explain a shape like that. A coat rack, a lamp, the angle of a closet door, and found nothing that matched what she'd seen. She didn't wake Ben. She told herself, lying back down eventually with her phone clutched against her chest, that new mothers saw things, that sleep deprivation did things to a person's threat perception that had nothing to do with actual danger. She had read that somewhere, she was almost sure, and it was comforting enough to let her eventually fall into a thin, unsettled sleep. The shape came back 4 nights later, at 3:15 a.m. This time, Maya was awake before the alert even finished loading, some instinct already pulling her upright in bed. The footage showed the same tall, still figure beside the crib, in the same leaning posture, but this time it stayed visible for 19 seconds before vanishing between frames, 8 seconds longer than before, a detail Maya noticed with a specific, cold clarity that felt like her body understanding something before her mind was willing to. There was something almost patient about the posture, she would think later, trying to describe it to herself in words that never quite fit. Not predatory, exactly, not obviously threatening in the way a nightmare figure was supposed to be, but attentive in a way that felt worse somehow. The specific wrongness of something taking its time over her sleeping son with no apparent urgency at all, as though it had nowhere else it needed to be and nothing that could make it hurry. She woke Ben this time, insisted he watch the footage with her, needing another set of eyes to confirm she wasn't losing her mind in the specific way exhausted new mothers are so often told, gently or otherwise, that they might be. Ben watched the 19 seconds of footage twice, his face going progressively paler, and told her that he didn't think it was a glitch either, though neither of them could offer an alternative explanation that made any more sense. They checked the nursery together this time. Eli was fine, sleeping soundly, entirely undisturbed. Every window and door in the apartment was locked. They stayed awake the rest of that night, sitting in the nursery together, watching their son sleep with their own eyes instead of trusting the camera, and told each other, in the exhausted, rationalizing way people talk themselves through 4 a.m. fear, that they'd figure out tomorrow whether the camera itself was somehow malfunctioning. They contacted the camera manufacturer the next day. Support was unhelpful in the specific way tech support often is when a problem doesn't match any troubleshooting script they've been trained on. They suggested resetting the device, checking for firmware updates, repositioning the camera in case of lens flare or reflection issues. Maya did all of it. None of it changed anything. The shape returned 6 nights later. This time, it stayed for 31 seconds. And this time, in the final 3 seconds before it vanished from the frame, it turned its head. Maya watched that moment more times than she could later admit to anyone. The grainy, green night vision footage
replaying the same 3 seconds over and over on her phone at 4 in the morning, while Ben slept fitfully beside her, having finally succumbed to an exhaustion Maya could no longer access. The figure, whose face had been angled down toward the crib for the entire 28 seconds before that moment, turned its head upward, toward the camera clipped to the crib rail, and held there for the final 3 seconds, facing the lens directly, before the recording cut, as it always did, mid-motion, with no transition at all.
The face itself, in the grainy resolution the camera's night vision produced, was not clearly visible in any way Maya could describe to Ben, or later to anyone else with real specificity. Not because it was obscured, but because something about the way the footage rendered it refused to resolve into features the way the rest of the frame resolved normally. Eli's crib, blankets, the nursery wall behind it, all of it sat in clear, ordinary night vision detail. The face, when Maya paused the footage exactly on that final frame, was a soft blur that did not sharpen no matter how she zoomed, as though the camera itself had declined to record what was actually there. Maya did not sleep again that week, in any way that could be called sleeping. She and Ben moved Eli's crib into their own bedroom the following night, reasoning, in the specific fragile logic of terrified new parents, that whatever this was seemed tied to the nursery itself rather than to Eli directly. A theory they had no real evidence for beyond the desperate need to believe there was a solution available to them at all. The camera, moved into their bedroom along with the crib, did not register the shape again for 11 nights. Maya allowed herself, cautiously, to believe the theory had been correct, that removing Eli from the nursery had somehow removed him from whatever the shape had been checking on him for. On the 12th night, at 3:33 a.m., the motion alert came again. Maya opened the feed with hands gone instantly, violently unsteady, and found the camera pointed, as it always was, at the crib now positioned at the foot of their own bed, and the tall, still shape standing over it in the same leaning posture as always, except now, for the first time, close enough that Maya could see, in the grainy frame, that the shape's unresolved face was already turned toward the camera, already looking, as though it had stopped needing the first 28 seconds to build up to that moment, because it already knew, now, exactly where to look. She would think, afterward, about how strange it was that the thing seemed to have learned something across those 11 quiet nights. Not gotten bolder exactly, but gotten more efficient, the way a person eventually stops needing to feel their way through a dark room they've walked through enough times before. It unsettled her more than almost anything else about it. The idea that whatever this was had been capable of patience, of adjustment, of something that looked uncomfortably close to learning. Maya did not check her phone. She turned, in the same instant, toward the actual crib 8 feet from her own bed, in the actual dark of her actual bedroom, and found it, for one suspended, unbearable half-second before her eyes adjusted fully to the darkness, apparently not empty. It was empty. Eli was there, asleep, entirely undisturbed, exactly as he should have been. But that half-second, the one where Maya's eyes had not yet confirmed what her mind needed them to confirm, stayed with her far longer than any single frame of camera footage had. Because for that half-second, in the dark, with no screen and no grainy resolution between her and the room, she had been entirely certain that something had been standing exactly where the footage always showed it standing, and had simply not yet finished the process of not being there anymore. They took the camera down permanently after that night. They did not return it, did not sell it, did not throw it away in any ordinary trash disposal. Ben drove it to a recycling center 40 minutes outside the city and left it in an electronics bin without either of them fully articulating why that specific disposal method had felt necessary, only that neither of them wanted it in a landfill close enough to think about again. Eli is 14 months old now. He sleeps in his own room again, no camera, no monitor beyond an ordinary audio one that picks up nothing but the ordinary sounds of a toddler sleeping. Maya still checks on him herself, several times a night, in person, with her own eyes, a habit she has stopped trying to talk herself out of. She and Ben have never fully discussed, even between themselves, what they think actually happened, in the way couples sometimes protect each other from a shared fear by simply declining to examine it too closely together. They've built, instead, a set of small, unspoken agreements. Always a nightlight in Eli's room, never total darkness. An old childhood habit Maya hadn't practiced since she was young herself, resurrected now for reasons she doesn't say out loud. Ben checks the nursery windows every night before bed, a task that has become as automatic to him as locking the front door. And neither of them has ever suggested that either habit is unnecessary. And you might want to ask yourself what exactly that particular preference should tell you about what's on the other side of the frame. This has been a Whisper Dark original. If this one made you want to go check on someone sleeping down the hall, you know what to do. Subscribe, and we'll see you in the dark next time.